Hey, Successors, before we get into the show today, I'd like to tell you about my new book, Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success. If you're struggling to stay motivated or just need a little boost, check out the ways that I've stayed motivated over the last few years. Go ahead and go over to Amazon.com and grab yourself a copy. That's Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success. Get it now. On with the show.
Success Media Network.
This is your show.
Good day, Successors. I'm Antonio Holman, and welcome to the 4 Principles of Success number 42, where I chat with successful people and entrepreneurs about how they enhance their businesses and lives in the areas of knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality. Today, we're talking to Elliot Carlyle. Elliot is located in Charleston, South Carolina, and as a speaker, mentor, entrepreneur, fashion publicist, creative director, branding consultant, marketing consultant, philanthropist, and 21st Century Empowerment Voice, is currently the host of EC Live at 10, which exists as a weekly broadcast of Destiny Conversations via Facebook Live Monday through Friday. Elliot has dubbed the EC Live at 10 audience as fellow architects, people who are actively building dreams, visions, goals, purpose, and destiny. The success keys, wisdom, strategies, and faith-based empowering content shared by Elliot attracts visionaries, entrepreneurs, ministry leaders, artists, philanthropists, and the like for an intense 1-hour session of life-enhancing information and liberating revelation. Elliot, are you ready to help our listeners prepare for success?
Antonio, I am ready. I am excited. Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. That's what I love to hear. Okay, Elliot. So now, aside from your really busy sounding schedule, what do you do in your personal life? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, it's so interesting because it's very, very diverse. There's never a dull moment, but I will honestly say, if I was to put it in a nutshell, simply, I'm a voice, just like my brand says, being the brand, the voice, but I talk all the time. I'm really a people person, and really the heart of everything that I do is people. And so I find myself as I've grown and, developed from my teen years to my young adult years to being where I am now. It was really interesting to navigate, I would say, this trajectory that seemed to have been so set for me and designed for me to get to where I am today, to find myself being this motivator and this encourager, this consultant and coach to so many people in so many different ways, and actually discovering that my career choices and career channels, my professions, have actually just turned out to be technologies by which I channel my purpose, and that's building people. So to say what I do in my personal time, most of my personal time is spent having powerful conversations such as these that we're going to have today, but actually I have them all the time, which, as you mentioned in my introduction, the EC Live at 10 broadcast was actually developed just because of that, because I wanted to expose people to the personal and intimate conversations that I am having just on a day-to-day basis at any given time. And I wanted to expose the people who I talk to the people who talk to me.
That's pretty powerful when you actually use your free time to still engage in the career that you've created because it's something that you absolutely love. That's really good.
Yes. And I say that because, really, when you do what you do the way that I do it, there really isn't any downtime. You're always on. And so, when you really start paying attention, you find that no matter where you are, no matter, who you're talking to or who you're connecting with, you find that it's always kind of the same flow and the same vein, So even when I do take, moments just to quote unquote break away, I still end up running into the same thing. I can go on vacation and I promise I'll end up running into somebody that needs this or needs that, or, is looking for an answer to something. And it's interesting because I'll end up referring them to check out my Facebook page or go to my website for this. I mean, it's so organic how it happens. I mean, it happens in restaurants, it happens at the mall, it happens in the barbershop. But I believe that when it becomes what you do becomes an extension of who you are, and you're working from purpose, is just designed that way, that the universe and life itself will respond to you that way.
Oh, yeah. That's one of my biggest personal principles. The universe will always respond to whatever you put out. Always. Now, you are involved in the fashion world. How do you help people in the fashion industry? And what attracted you to that industry in the first place?
Very good. So I would say that to start out, what attracted me to that industry, I honestly cannot say there was a particular thing because I can't trace it. That's the hardest thing. And I've gotten this question a lot, and I'm never really sure. I just know it seems to be, honestly, that I always had this acute interest in it. And I say acute because it was so small that I didn't really know that it was there, because when I was a young child, from elementary school age, middle school age, and high school, and even college, I actually was very heavily involved in music. Music was my absolute joy. It was my life. It was my passion. And it's really pretty much all I did. I was never in sports or anything like that. But I was in everything music. I played the piano. I was in jazz band. I was in symphony choir. I was in the show choir. I was in the Madrigal Singers. I did traveling Broadway shows. We did performances. I mean, everything. And so that was pretty much, what I knew my life was going to be at the time. And then my second year in school, in college rather, all of a sudden I had an idea I will say an idea, but I had this moment that came to me where I just realized that music wasn't doing it for me anymore. It seemed that the passion that I had, it was no longer there. And that was a very almost traumatic experience. I'm talking about, internally, because, what do you do when the thing that has fulfilled you for so long, all of a sudden is no longer doing its job, The hard part was it was doing something for everyone else. And, everyone loved my music. They loved my voice. They loved watching me perform. But I wasn't getting anything out of it anymore. And so I said, I've got to make a decision. And so at the time I had taken a business class in school, and I had to do a project. And one of my projects was to develop a marketing plan or a business plan for a particular business that we would want to go into. And lo and behold, out of nowhere, I decided to do a fashion magazine. And so that was actually my first time digging into the industry so that I could, find out what I needed to find out to execute this project. And so that really is where the interest came. And I cannot tell you what it was about fashion, because even still today, it's not the clothes, it's not anything like that, even though I love the industry. But for me, even why I love it so much is the people that are in it. I love the people that fashion has allowed me to connect to. But that's really what caused me to actually venture into fashion, was that project. And then so from there, I said, you know what, this is something that I can do. But of course, fashion is such a broad industry. I needed to know, well, exactly what in fashion, would I do? And that's what actually inspired me to take a trip to go to New York Fashion Week and then, explore the opportunity. And it was just a journey of evolution from that point forward.
It's interesting the things that you just said, because I can identify with those personally because I too am a musician and an artist, and those are all the things I've done since I was a child. So I was like 10 years old. And there came a time, when I was not feeling fulfilled by music and art anymore, And just like you said, there's a time where you have to make a decision, because all the people around you love your music and the things that you do artistically. But since you're not feeling it, you definitely have to change your life and fulfill yourself above everything else. Right. And that is what brought me into podcasting. And I'm getting into real estate investing. There's a lot of different things that I really want to get into, and they have nothing to do with entertainment, art, or music.
Wow. But you know what? I will say what I did discover, especially doing what I do now, what's interesting is one of the things people always say, when I've done a conference or a workshop or, just anytime I'm up in front of an audience, people have always said to me, it's just, you were born to do this. You're such a natural. One of my best friends, she always says to me, Elliot, you have a way of doing what you do so that it makes other people feel like they can do what you do. Like she said, when I watch you speak, she said, it's one thing to listen to you, but actually watching you and having the experience, it makes you feel like, wow, I can get up on this stage and I can talk. I can get up here and teach this class. I can get up here and do this. She said, and only because you really can see that you're in your element and it's so natural to you. It just seems like it's nothing to you. You just flow. And one thing that I really discovered in the past 2 years was I said, you know what? It's nothing new, even though I didn't really start speaking like this until, my later years. But I was always on stage. I forget, that in music and, performing, and I was always on stage. So, I believe it's a different type of performance with a different purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is very similar, but it's a totally different world at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
Yeah.
What were those first few steps that you took to enter into the fashion world, and what was the mindset you had that pushed you forward?
Oh, this is really good. I'll say this. I understood at the time that it was going to be a total shift because there was nothing about what I wanted to do that really connected to. And at the time, I didn't, see any connections or bridges, but connected to where I was. And so I understood it. This is a moment where I'm leaving what's now to pursue and build what's next. It was a moment of exploration. It was a moment of discovery, but I was really, really excited, and I knew it was going to be a challenge, and I was excited to accept the challenge. And so what I knew that I had to do was totally break away from everything that I have access to and everything that I'm doing, which meant, honestly, at that time, that I would not be able to finish my degree program because I was actually in school on a full music scholarship for musical theater and vocal performance. And when I decided I wanted to go into fashion, I left music. I told, my professors and, the people that I would not return back next semester after the end of that year. And so, it was a total breakaway. And of course, my first mindset was, okay, I know now that I know what, I need to know how. So I know fashion. I don't exactly know what in fashion, but how am I even going to get into fashion? So I mentioned before that I went to New York Fashion Week. Well, I was in an area, from Northwest Florida where there is no fashion market. There's a retail market, but there's no fashion market. So I said, well, how can I get to it, because I can see that it's not going to come to me. And so that was back in the MySpace days, of course. And I saw everyone getting ready for Fashion Week on MySpace. I was connected to a lot of people. I was working in an event planning job at the time, so I connected with quite a few people in the event industry and event professions, and many of them happened to be going to Fashion Week or were actually fashion show producers. And so I said, well, I need to be here where they're at. So I had family in New York, and of course I was working, so I had money. I could book a plane ticket and go to New York. So I just went. And, that was really an educating moment, because I didn't even realize or had no way of knowing that you couldn't just go to Fashion Week, or, I couldn't get there and buy a ticket or anything, that you had to be invited, and only industry professionals and press were invited. So, of course, that didn't include me. So when I got there, I just had to sit outside the tents every day, and then for 2 days. And then I decided, I need to talk to somebody. I need to ask some questions. And I saw these people going around and coming in and out in all black. And I was like, well, they look important, so I'll talk to them. And I did that. And lo and behold, it was a publicist. And, she was so nice. And she talked to me and, answered my questions, asked where I was from. And, my main question was, after, we kind of, got acquainted with each other, my question was, well, how do I get in here? How do I experience this? And she said, well, because you're not a working professional, or you're not pressed, she said, my suggestion to you would be to volunteer, which means you have to come back next season, of course. She said, but if you volunteer, then you can see all aspects of the industry, because you get a backstage perspective and you get to see all of the moving parts. And I was like, okay, that's cool. I can do that. And actually, I kept in touch with her, and I came back next season. And after I got a chance to see everything, and I realized, wow, what the PR people do is closely related to what I'm doing as an event planner. And I actually do some of those same things. The company that I worked with, we just didn't have a PR department. So whatever events you were doing, you kind of had to do the PR and the marketing and the planning as well. And so I was already doing, it's so interesting, I was already doing what I wanted to do. I just didn't know where it fit or how to put it in context. I'll say that. And so after that, it was just all she wrote. As they say, I just learned the industry. I began working as a production captain at Mercedes-Benz Fashion Week, and so learning all the ins and outs of fashion and networking, and building my name and making connections. And then from there, I was able to start actually offering some PR services back home in Florida, because I was learning what I was learning in New York and taking it back home. And so that's actually how I started building my career, and it started with PR, and then it developed into all that I do now.
Yeah, I love that story. Just like they say, there is no attraction without action, and you took massive action. I mean, you went out there unknowingly, pretty much blind, and you just went out there and just did it and learned and got the information because you took action. I love it.
And you really have to do that. I tell this story often, to my friends and colleagues, and, even in my trainings and workshops and boot camps. But, it's something that you find many people get stuck at that place. You know what you want to do. And it's like, okay, I can see this. But then when you look around, you have no access or avenue to it. It's not familiar to you. There's nothing that it connects to. And really, for many people, that's a place where it becomes such a fight for you to cross over into that place or position yourself where you need to be so that you can engage in it. And that's one thing that I have learned, and it's such a valuable principle. But if you can just position yourself, I believe that everything that's designed for you, and we're talking about destiny here, destiny is always working to find you. I believe that it's just a matter of where you position yourself so that what's looking for you can locate you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I believe that too. It seems to me that the universe is always pointing you in that correct direction.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Which is why you have to listen so much. I tell people, even as a speaker, I talk all the time. I talk all day long, but I also listen twice as much. You have to, because that's how you'll know where to move, because the signs are there, the messages are there, the voice is there. We're just not paying attention to respond.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. For those who may not know, tell us a little bit more about EC Live at 10 and what inspired you to create it.
Perfect segue. I'll tell you this. Speaking of, you have to listen twice as much as you speak. So back in 2010, I did an interview on a platform called the El Cherie Alert. And the editor is El Cherie Dean, and she's based somewhere out of Mississippi. But she did an interview with me, and we were supposed to only talk for about 45 minutes on the interview. And after it was over, we looked at the clock, and we had been on the phone for about 3 hours.
Oh, wow.
And it was such a powerful, powerful interview. And I said, and she was recording the whole time. And she said, I didn't even realize, because this has gotten so good. But she said to me, she said, I'm going to really have to work hard to edit this down, because you shared so much good content. And, so we said we'd keep in touch. And it was so interesting, because after that, I remember I had such an expectation and anticipation for what she would do with this interview, because we had so much to work with. And I just could not wait. I was sitting on pins and needles waiting to see how she put this together. But the thing that stuck out to me most was when she released it. The title of the interview was Elliot, Carlyle, the brand, the voice. And one of the things that she said to me, and at that time I was actually going by Elliot Carlyle Unlimited. And so when she said that, it really set with me. And as you can see today, I actually have branded that as my brand. But what was interesting was, I remember saying to myself, okay, what does this mean? And one thing that she said was, you really need to do a show. You really need to start a YouTube show. You need to do a podcast. You need to do something that gets your voice out there, or you need to write a book. But people really need to know the conversation that you have, because you have a lot of wisdom, and you don't share this like this all the time in an open setting. And I said, no, most of the people that get this from me get it in private or intimate or, one-on-one personal conversations. And she said, well, I think that you'd be really successful if you wrote a book or did a show. And I was like, yeah, I don't know about that. Maybe we'll think about that. What's interesting though, Antonio, is after that was 2010, so that's 7 years ago. After that, I started getting that all the time. I mean, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the things I would share on Facebook, people would comment and be like, "Oh, you should write a book on that," or I would speak over here or host this event and say some things on stage while I was hosting, and people would come up to me after it's over and say, "Oh my gosh, like you should really do a TV show." And it's like, and I'm like, well, why would I do a TV show? Who would listen to me? I mean, literally, this started happening consistently all the time. In 2013, I remember at the end of that year, I had a meeting with my interns, and we sat down and I asked them, we go over the year and see what was successful, what works, and also what we need to improve on. And I asked them, I said, well, what do we need to do for next year? What do you see we need to venture into? What do we need to take on that we didn't take on? How can we grow? How can we develop? And they all said to me, well, the business is going well, the brand is going well, the clients are doing well, but what you need to do for yourself, you need to develop a YouTube show. And I said, why does this keep coming to me? Why is everyone saying this? Who's going to listen to me on YouTube? Everybody's talking on YouTube. Everybody's talking on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? I mean, everybody's doing it, so what's going to make mine different? Who's going to take the time to listen to me? And it's so interesting because we respond that way with things. I mean, we're just talking about how the universe will speak to you, and all of these messages will come to you. The signs are there, and then immediately when they show up, we ask a question.
People see things in us that we don't see.
Yes, and I'm telling you, that was such a struggle for me. And so really up until last year, so what happened is my business partner, he had purchased this video equipment and cameras and lights and all of that for some projects that he's actually personally doing, but he had to learn how to use it. And so then he says to me, he just purchased it, to work with it. And he said, but I need a subject to work on. He said, and I'm going to use this to develop your YouTube show or your Facebook Live. And I said, I'm not going on Facebook Live. And so it was actually on January 1st. He asked me, he said, are you going to go on live today? I got everything set up. Are you going to use it? And I was like, no, not today. And so I said, well, Lord, if he doesn't ask me that again, then I'm not going to do it. But if he says it to me again, then I'm going to have to sit down and go on here. And I did have something to say. That's the crazy thing. So it was about 9:30 that evening, and he asked me again. He said, so are you going to go live tonight? And I said, okay, let me just go ahead and get on. So I did. And it has just been history from there. But the audience, the people came on, they listened, and I was only going to stay on for about 15 minutes. And when I look at the clock, I had been talking for a whole hour. And I asked the people then, I said, y'all are still here? Y'all are listening? And they were like, yeah. And I said, so if I got back on here again, y'all would be back on here? And they were like, yeah. And so that's how EC Live at 10 started. It started because I had been asked in 2010 and kept running into it. And I said, you know what, obviously, it's time. And I've heard you all, and I'm going to now come in agreement with what has been laid out for me, and I'm going to respond to it. And so I've been there, for every day. I took a break in March, and then I came back on in the middle of June. And so I'm getting ready to start the next season in October. And it's just been really incredible, the things that I've been learning, and also the response that I've been getting and how people have been growing from it. But I will say that it was something that I fought with for 7 years to actually do.
As a child, were you this type of outspoken, teaching type of person?
Oh, my gosh, Antonio. So do you know the first time I can remember, and I shared this past weekend on my boot camp, but do you know that I can remember the first time that I was called outspoken? I was in sixth grade, and my pastor actually called me that, and it hurt my feelings so bad. I didn't even know what the word meant. I had never even heard the word. Nobody had ever called me that. But actually I have been, but I was actually raised to be that way. My parents, my dad taught me that a man has to be able to express himself and make decisions. And so I was that child that what most people would consider, the talk back kid. I was able to say my opinion, and it wasn't necessarily talking back, but my parents taught me that, you have an opinion and you're allowed to express it. So I was always allowed to speak. I was always allowed to express my opinion. I was always allowed to say the things that I saw and the way that I saw them. Now, there was a way I had to say it, but I was never made to feel like what I have to say is not relevant. So I always shared it. So in that moment, it's really interesting that you say that, because my pastor at that time, we actually had a disagreement on something that he was sharing in Sunday school. And here I am in sixth grade, and I just told him, I said, well, I don't agree with that. I don't see it like that. And, we kind of went back and forth. And after church that Sunday, he had a meeting with my parents, and he said, I think you need to talk to your son because he's a little bit outspoken. And I remember sitting there listening, and it really, really hurt my feelings because I was like, well, what does that mean? And why am I even outspoken? Because I was just sharing, my piece, and my dad had to explain to him, well, I don't think he's outspoken. I think he just had a difference of opinion, and he shared that with you. But if that's not something that you can handle, then we'll let him know that that's not something he can do with you. But other than that, my son is okay to express his opinion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because I was not disrespectful. It's just that, according to his household and how he was with his children, if I say what I say, you don't say anything back. Well, that's not how my parents raised me. So, and it was good. It wasn't a bad thing because I did need to learn, okay, wow, but the way that I'm being raised at home is not the way that everyone else is being raised or taught. And so, you do run into those moments where it's like, wow, but I was actually called outspoken for the first time in sixth grade. And I will say, every year, if I go back and look at my report cards, I promise, maybe not elementary school, but definitely middle school and high school, every report card I have, it says excessive talking.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so I'm telling you, I've always talked, and I really do talk all day long.
Now, you've been doing this for a while. What still compels you so much to want to help and inspire other people to be creative and make their vision and their reality, come to light? What is it that compels you to keep doing that?
Antonio, I want people to know just how powerful they are. And I want people to realize that they engage out of their power all the time. They're just not aware because, unlike me, who's had these voices of influence around me and has had this powerful circle, to keep me accountable to my purpose and destiny and who I am and my identity and, to help me locate, my power buttons, so to speak. I know a lot of people do not have that. And there's so many people out here who are struggling, but literally they have just innately tapped into their power, but they don't know that's their power. Or they've had traumatic experiences or they've had blockers that have hindered them from being able to operate in that place. And so many people, and I find this in my coaching, that many people are walking around, not happy. And I really just want people to know that they are okay, that nothing's wrong with them. They're okay. They are powerful, and they can be happy. It's just about the choices that you make, because happiness is a choice. And many times, they can't see the choices that need to be made in order for them to build and cultivate their own happiness, because you literally can create the life you want. And I just want people to show them how, in the face of obstacles, in the face of setbacks, in the face of setups, because you don't have to be hindered, because you are not denied. It may be delayed, but you're not denied. And those are all key things that I find myself having to say to people on a day-to-day basis. But I really do, at the core of who I am, I've always been a people person. I love people. I love engaging with people. I love experiencing people's passions. I love experiencing, happy people and joyous people. And I just want everybody to have that experience with themselves and also be able to share their true highest expression of who they are with other people. I think that there's just a reward in that comes. There's a fulfillment in that comes for each and every one of us that cannot be compared or matched to any other thing that we've experienced in life. When you're operating in your true, authentic self and engaging in what is significant, what is signature to you, what is powerful from you, that you can affect other people's lives in a way that nobody else can. And all of us have something in us. All of us were born with something in us that we can do that. And I want people to discover that before they leave this life.
Yeah, I really love that. You may be delayed, but you are not denied. That is absolute truth. And a lot of people do not realize it.
Right. And I believe that the delay is only there because there's a truth that you have not come into yet.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel is one of the very first things a person must realize in order to better their lives and situations to make their successful vision a reality?
I believe that the first thing that you must do is acknowledge the truth. because if you're not truthful with where you are, then you won't be able to get truthfully to where you're trying to go. And I'll say that because one of the things that you have to be able to acknowledge and tell yourself and stand in is where I am and what I'm doing truly making me happy? Is this truly what I've been designed to do? Is this truly who I've been designed to be? Because many of us have taken on so many things, and I believe that life has put us on a trajectory that you have to sometimes fight against to unbecome what you have become so that you can now be. And I'm saying that because many people, and I find this experience in my coaching, after I've, done a profile on them, or, we've kind of, gotten to the core of their situation and where they are, I find that, wow, you don't even really want to be here. What they're doing, you're not happy on this job. You're not happy in this career. You're not happy in this marriage. You're not happy in this relationship. You're not happy living where you are. You know what I'm saying? Like you really don't want to be there, but you're telling yourself you're okay because, in some way, it is producing for you, but is it producing for the lifestyle that you've created, or is it producing for the lifestyle that you were designed to live? Is it producing for the true, authentic life that's in you? And I believe that until people are able to acknowledge the truth, they'll never be able to make any changes.
Now, you have a concept. Tell us your concept on being versus doing and how to be successful when you yourself are the actual product.
Oh, this is good. Because going back to where we started at the beginning, that is the place where now, so for instance, as a publicist, my job is to make things public. My job is to help people create stories around what it is that they're doing. I'm able to help people see the story in their project or their brand or their concept or idea. Now, that's something that I can do. And when I'm just doing it, then it becomes an event. It becomes something that I do, when I go into the office. It becomes something that I do when I'm meeting with the client. It becomes something that I do based on circumstance or situation. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
Now, when it becomes who I am, I don't need any outside stimulation. I don't need any event or circumstance to cause me to turn on, because when it's something that I am, when it's who I am, I just exude it, and it happens just as I move throughout the day. I can be at the gas station, and I'll make a connection. I'll be at checking out at Walmart, and I'll make a connection. It just happens anywhere, and I think that is the thing that is the difference in being versus doing. And when you're being, then you're always turned on, and it just becomes a part of your life. And so I believe, going back to the beginning, the universe is always now responding because you're always on. When you're only doing, then you have the ability to be turned on and turned off. And so the universe can only respond to you in the moments that you're doing. And when you're no longer doing, then you get no responses.
Yes, powerful. I love those words. You're right on point. Okay, as we know, life is full of ups and downs. It's just a giant roller coaster.
Yes.
Throughout your journey, what do you feel was that time you felt most unsuccessful in your life?
Wow. I'll say this. The times when I was distracted by thinking that money was the definition of success. And I had to say that slow so I could say that the best way possible. I believe that what we do in being able to connect the what to the why, one of the things that my dad taught me when I first went into business was that, don't do what you do for the money. Do it because you're passionate about it. Because people who only do what they do for money, they never have enough. But if you do it because you're passionate, then your passion will always pay you. And I share that every session that I have, every workshop that I have, every boot camp that I have, because the times when I was measuring success by the tangible things that I was looking at, or the tangible things that I had access to, such as money or things, or, those moments for me were some of the lowest moments that I had, because I felt like, wow, I should be here, or I should be there, or I should have this. And, you're looking at, other people who are in your industry field or in your career field. And it's like, well, they're doing this and they have this, and, it seems like they're making this much money, or they're over here or they're over there. But during those times, I was missing the real success was, wow, I may not have it like that. However, I am productive. I am producing, because I can look at this person and look at how their life has changed because of something that I said, or something that I shared, or just a coaching session with me, or a conversation with me. And look at this person, they were dealing with this and now they're over here doing this, and look at this person. So, I really had to learn that all results, all success, all return on investment is not necessarily monetary, because money is not the only currency.
Yeah, that's really one of the reasons why I started this podcast. Well, because I wanted to learn things, and I wanted to learn things from the people who I felt had information that really interested me. Mm-hmm. And they had the things that I wanted, and so they had, put it this way, they had the knowledge that I wanted. And so I went out and sought that knowledge, and it's coming back to me, talking to people like you. I get to personally have conversations with people who offer knowledge to me that I can actually utilize in my life. And the thing that has nothing to do with money is that I'm actually helping thousands of other people who hear this show. Yes. And you get to actually give back. And it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with bettering your living situation. It's actually bettering your life.
That's it. That's powerful. Yes, sir. And I commend you for that.
Yeah, it's been a journey, man. But I gotta admit, I still do enjoy it.
Yes, and it fulfills you. I always say that I believe that passion and purpose together is the only thing that can leave you fulfilled in this life. And we see it. Look at how many celebrities, have all of this money, but, they're depressed, they're on medication, they're seeing psychiatrists and psychologists and, strung out on drugs and all, and it's sad, but you have all of this money. So, apparently money cannot be the only thing.
Yes.
And we do need money, and we do need to be, I believe even the Bible says money answereth all things, and I have some questions and I need some answers.
Yes.
I'm a firm believer, in that. We need it to survive, but at the same time, that cannot be the reason that you work. That cannot be the reason that you engage. That cannot be your motivator.
Yeah, I like the concept of the more you earn, the more you can give.
Yes,
I really like that.
Yes, that is powerful.
What do you feel was the one hardest thing for you to overcome in your business that you've since conquered?
I would say that the hardest thing that I had to overcome was being able to recognize who I was for and who I was not. And I'm saying that because one of the things that we have to do, and for those who are listening who are entrepreneurs or are looking to start a business, you really have to define who your customer is, who your target is, who your people are. And I'm saying that because, when you start doing what you're doing and you become, successful at it, you become known for it, you build a reputation for it, everything will come. Everyone will come. Every type of project will come. You'll get all kinds of offers. But what I really understood is that you have to really be able to recognize what's for you based on why you are doing what you're doing. And you'll know when you define that, you'll know what it looks like when it shows up, and you'll know what it doesn't. But tying to what we were discussing before this about the money, if you're a person who is motivated by money, you'll take on everything. But that will put you in some very interesting positions. And I'll say, this year in January, I experienced something that, and of course I won't mention names, but I experienced for the first time having to let a client go because of financial issues, and not that it wasn't that I was trying to get anything from them that they didn't promise. They signed a contract with me and they said, I can pay you this month retainer. And that's what we agreed to. But 3 months in, all of a sudden, they were having financial problems. And, and I'm a person, I'm okay with that. I can work with you. We can work together. I'm willing to work with you as long as we'll work. But, they made it obvious to me that, well, I just can't pay you, so I'm not going to pay you, and just clearly ignored me from that point forward. The sad part is because of the way that I had done their campaign and their program, they were still getting opportunities and still traveling and going to places and speaking at events and getting interviews and all of this based on the program that I had put in place for them. So I'm watching them, move with everything that I've given them and the opportunities that I had set up, but then I'm not being paid. That was very, very rough for me. And, I had talked to, the people who I talked to, just to get some advice. And of course, many people were like, I would take her to court and I would do this and I would do that. And I said, well, no, I'm not. I don't feel like all that. I don't have the energy for all that. That's not even conducive to who I am, not for this. And then, my best friend said to me, I think you should just let her go. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not letting her go. She owe me money. You know what I'm saying? I said, no, I'm not doing that. And they said, no, I think you should just let it go. The thing is, it's obvious that this is not somebody that's really a right fit for you. And all the signs were there. And what's interesting, Antonio, I promise you, all the signs were there from in the first month. And I should have, but it just was hard, you know what I'm saying? Because I had already put all of this work in. I've done a whole 6-month campaign for you that you're moving off of, and you're gonna get away with that for free. But I really had to say to myself, you know what? That's okay, because I was integral in this. I did my part. I'm gonna let you have that, because at the end of the day, it really just shows me that I don't even need money to do what I can do. This is who I am, and it works whether you pay me or not. And you'll be able to, move forward in that. But if you have peace in doing that, knowing that you're operating and you're taking advantage of opportunities that I created and you didn't pay me, then I got to let you have that. If you feel like you can do that, then go ahead. But for me, it just shows me, because I don't need to be in a position where you think that I need you because you need me. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that was not necessarily that I'm saying it now because I'm over it. But in the moment, honestly, it was very, very, very tough. And honestly, because it hurt my feelings, it really did, because I only take on projects that I believe in. I only work with people that I believe in. And, I believed in you. I really did. And so it's very discouraging to find out that, your integrity was not there the way that I assumed or, presumed that it would be there. But again, even then I couldn't be upset, honestly, because the signs were there. I just didn't pay attention. So that was very, very hard for me. But I will say there's something powerful, Antonio, about being able to walk away. Yeah. There is something, I'm telling you, we all know what it feels like to have people walk away from us or things leave us, or, we all know what it feels like to be the one that's left behind. But when you can take the power to leave things behind, I'm telling you, it does something for you that you'll be able to do that from that point forward in all kinds of situations and circumstances. And I'm telling you, I did not realize what that was doing for me in January. But this year, I was faced with many things that I had to walk away from. And the thing is, when it became a question, I already had the response. And guess what? I had prepared myself, because I did it one time. I can do it again. And I have not missed a beat. And so I'm honestly celebrating that person and thanking them, because you really did help me.
Yes, I know what that feels like.
Yeah. But walking away because of the type of heart I am and where I am with people, because again, I'm such a people person, that was a hard thing for me to come to. And I think that's why it had to be such a painful offense and one that touched me in a very personal place, because it was going to take something like that to get me to make that kind of move.
What one thing in your business are you currently struggling to overcome?
Now it is, I struggle with, okay, so we're talking about the money thing. The thing that I honestly, and I'll be very transparent and share this, I struggle with pricing myself.
Yeah, I've heard that seems to be a common issue with speakers and coaches and things like that, because you start to question your value.
Yes, and well, here's the thing. Honestly, and this may sound a little arrogant, but I don't question my value. What I question is whether people really can afford what I know that I'm worth.
I see. I like that. That's good.
And then because I'm so passionate and I really want people to have this, I'll give it away for free.
Oh.
I really will, because I just want people to have it, Antonio. I'm telling you, like, it is hard for me because I really, really am passionate about this. I a couple months ago, I started offering on-demand coaching services, and when I first put it out, I was going to offer them for an hour and a half for only $150. Now, I put that on Facebook. I put the promotion up, and immediately, as soon as I put it up, and I put it up on Instagram, I got a message from another one of my colleagues, industry colleagues, who's an awesome speaker and coach. And I mean, this woman is amazing, named Shauna Van Bogart, and I had her on Destiny Conversations maybe a couple months prior. And as soon as I put it up, she inboxed me and said, "No, sir, what are you doing? $150? Absolutely incredible. But unfortunately, no." She said, "You are worth so much more than that. You need to at least triple those or double those. I'm not accepting that. Take that down right now." And I was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh wow! She put you in check.
Yes, and it had not even been up it hadn't been up 3 minutes, and she said that, and she texted me and she said, "Sir," she was like, "Elliot, no." She was like, "Anybody who has heard you speak, anybody who has been in a room with you," she was like, they cannot have that session and only give you $150. She was like, nobody who understands the value of your voice is going to do that. She said, "You really cannot do that. Don't sell yourself short." And I was telling my stylist about that. I was getting my hair cut, and he stopped cutting my hair, walked around in front of me in the chair, and he said, "Let me tell you something, and don't you ever forget this." He said, "When you start out giving people discounts, then that's the way that they'll treat you from that point forward. They'll start expecting a discount. And when you treat yourself as a discount price, then you'll always get discount attention."
Yes, that's absolutely true.
And
wow.
I'm telling you, that thing messed me up. But the thing is, and it's still a struggle, only because it's not about the money for me. The reward is not about the money. But yes, I do understand what people are saying, and I do get that. But honestly, it's still, every time I have to put a registration on one of my boot camps or a price on this, I'm telling you, the things I go through behind the scenes with my team, I mean, they can tell you. It's like, I'll just tell them, "Look, whatever y'all come up with, put it on there, because I can't do it." And then I'm still telling people, "Well, please, I just want you to come. Don't worry about the registration. I just want you to come. If we have to put a payment plan together or we have to do this, we'll work on that later. But I just want you to get what you need." I'm telling you, it's so real for me. It really is.
That's a good one. What do you feel is the one biggest business triumph to date?
I guess I would say, in terms of one of the things that I would say is my highest moment is being able to work with the legendary Empress of Soul, Gladys Knight, when she hired me to be the creative director for her project that she's doing called G70, and it's still in development. But I actually did the creative direction and styling for her single that came out called Just a Little, and this was back in 2015. And of course, it was, when it went up online, it was very, very, big, and a lot of people were like, "Oh my gosh, how'd you get to work with this legendary, and how'd you get that, and how did this happen?" Of course, all the hows show up. But what's interesting, Antonio, is the story behind that goes all the way back to MySpace, because I actually got that opportunity because I was connected to her vocal producer, and her vocal producer is someone who I had been consulting for, almost ever since I started business. When I was just starting my brand, and using MySpace as my social media platform to get out there, he's somebody who connected with me and actually asked me to work with him on some projects. And I had been working with him ever since. And it went from, that to becoming a consultant, and then actually, basically becoming a life coach for him. And he actually extended that connection to me because he said, all these years you've been talking to me and all these years you've been doing things for me, and you really never asked me for anything. And you even did it when I was not able to pay you. And he said, this is the least I can do. He was like, we came up with this project and we don't have someone, and I know this fits your expertise. And he was like, I think this will be a good opportunity for you. But that's how it actually came, and I haven't shared that story on a platform before, so this is the first. But it's that was a moment to say, wow, because even at that time, he and I hadn't been in touch in a few years. And so for him to reach back out at that time to say, hey, I remembered what you've done for me. I remembered who you are. And I've been watching you. That was an awesome, awesome blessing. And that moment really showed me that, every day people may not say it to you every day. You may not get the reminders or messages, but you just need to remember for yourself that what you've done, you have been effective in it, and people have taken notice.
Absolutely. Very powerful. The universe responded to what you put out previously. That was good.
Yeah.
What do you feel is your one biggest personal triumph to date?
Accepting the challenge to grow. Yeah. And I'm saying that to say getting on Facebook Live was a challenge. Actually, this 7-year universal message that I've been running into to finally be able to get over the question and come in agreement with the answer that's been provided. I'm excited because of all that is happening. I'm actually speaking at a conference called the Revolve Conference, this fall that's coming up, that I actually got that opportunity because of Facebook Live. And I'm telling you, me accepting that challenge, Antonio, has opened my brand up and opened, my reach and opened the platform with which I'm able to serve people from to a whole different dimension. But had I not been able to accept that challenge to grow, I never would be where I am now. And who knows where this will go. I have people, messaging me all the time about going on TV and, having a TV show. I'm just starting here, but we never know where that will go. But you do have to accept that challenge to stretch yourself and be expanded. And then allowing the people that will show up to help you, allowing them to have access to you and allowing them that freedom, in their creativity and in their powers, that they can use it to expand you and grow you as well. And so that is something that I believe I will forever tell people and teach people that, when you get to a moment of growth, yes, it is going to challenge you, but accept the challenge.
Yes, sir. Very true.
Yeah.
Hang tight, successors. We'll return to our conversation with Elliot Carlyle as well as quick success after a word from our sponsors. Podcasters, want more listeners? Check out promosharecast.com and join the community today. That's promosharecast.com. Join today and get the first month free, and you'll also receive 50% off for a lifetime membership. Sign up today. promosharecast.com. Are you a tense, tired, busy person who works day in and day out, who tends to lack the proper sleep and energy? Using modular supplements, health-related articles, recipes, life hacks, and more, Bellison can help. With quality as high as Bellison, you're buying from a company that cares about the environment and only uses premium vegan supplements. That's Bellison.com. Want to learn how to cook healthy, exercise, and meditate in just 30 minutes a day? Bellison.com. Want to feel healthy, energetic, and focused like me? Bellison.com. To receive a 10% discount at checkout, visit Bellison.com with the coupon code THE4POS. Visit Bellison.com now. That's BELISAN.com. Compassion and quality without compromise. Bellison.com. And we're back with speaker, mentor, entrepreneur, and much more, Elliot Carlyle. Now we get into the part of the show I like to call Quick Success, where you, Elliot, can inspire their successors to enhance their lives in the areas of knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality. Elliot, what are you currently doing to enhance your knowledge?
Actually, I read, and I'm actually in the process of writing my own book, which will actually be finished by next week. And it's something I've been working on for a while. But one of the things that I do, honestly, is read and talk. I talk to people all the time. I'm learning from people. And I believe that experience is the best teacher. And so, just positioning myself to experience what other people are giving out, what other people are sharing, such as, why you're even doing, this podcast, and interviewing people and asking questions and getting the right answers. I read and I talk, I discuss and I share. And in that, I kind of give myself this constant roundtable discussion so that I can always learn. And I believe that many times people and their experiences are the best teachers. So
you mentioned your upcoming book. What's the title?
It's actually a workbook, but it's called the Influence Workbook. And it's a personal interactive workbook that gives you keys and tips and wisdoms on how to trajectify your life.
I love that. I love the workbooks because it helps people so much.
Yes. And they have been actually inspired from my boot camps and just, some of my coaching sessions. And so it's a conglomerate of a lot of my personal tips and keys put into a workbook form.
What are you currently doing to enhance your health?
I walk all the time. Now, what's interesting about that is I don't necessarily consider myself to be the most athletic person. However, I found that walking also is good for me and working through my pillars and giving myself the mental space that I need. Because, of course, when you're a person like me who talks all the time and is always on the phone and talking with people and coaching people through their problems and issues, that can become very, very heavy. And I found that, sitting around and looking at TV or just listening to music, those things that many people do, or meditating, it doesn't necessarily work for me that way. But to stay mentally healthy and also physically healthy as well, just to keep your heart rate up and things like that, I walk a lot. I found that helps me. And I really did not start doing that until this year, especially having to do Destiny Conversations. I found myself taking long walks before I go on Facebook Live, or even after I would get off the broadcast, I would go and take a walk just to calm myself down, bring myself down, allow my mind to clear. And it's worked very well for me. And now I'm also starting to look at and consider, of course, speaking of those challenges, accepting the challenge. One of the challenges for me that I'm going to have to accept is to eat more healthy, because I'm a tall and slim guy, but I don't have the best diet. I think because I'm tall and slim, I can just eat everything. But I experienced something this past weekend in my boot camp that I had. We went to a barbecue spot for lunch, and ate really healthy. But my guest that weekend, my guest speaker, Dr. Sequita Sutton, she actually did not eat what everyone else says. She just had some collard greens and macaroni and cheese. It was that kind of space, ribs and chicken and brisket and all of that. But because we were in a boot camp and that we were really dealing with heavy issues and, digging into our past and bringing up things that we haven't dealt with, all of that, it was very, very heavy. So we don't need to put this heavy meal on it. But when we came back to the boot camp, everyone was tired and sleepy, right? And trying to fight to stay awake through the sessions. And she taught us, she said, she did a little quick teaching on how you are what you eat, and talked about how what we eat and what we put into our body. And of course we know this just by common sense, or just by commercials, or things that we come across. We all learn a little bit of things about health, but you kind of had that attitude that, well, it's not really necessary for me. But she really enlightened us to some things, so much so that on Sunday where we went for lunch, I said we're going to a salad spot, so we went to this salad bar for lunch on Sunday. But those are things that I'm personally I'm just being transparent that I'm having to now look at and do, because I do want to be healthy, because it makes no sense for you to have all this wealth and knowledge and wisdom to share with people, but then you're not even healthy enough to serve and or give it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
What are you currently doing to enhance your wealth?
Oh, wow. I believe for me, the most wealthy thing that I consider that I have, honestly, is my circle of influence, my relationships, my connections. And I am really a person. I started this about 3 years ago. I happened upon this journey to really shrink down my circle and build from the ground up, and not necessarily getting rid of people, but replacing people, not replacing people, but replacing people in my life, so that I could see my wealth based on how people were responding to my treasure that's within. And so one of the things that I look at as wealthy, I'm telling you, is just being able to look around in my life and say, wow, look at the people who I've been blessed to be connected with. I'm a part. I may not be rich, but my circle is. Even being able to be connected to you, being on this podcast, I mean, this is powerful. I mean, and I hope those who are listening, you can feel, the energy and the passion and the spirit, that's even on here, because I'm telling you, as soon as we got on, I just lit up because I can feel, the purpose in what you're doing. And to me, that is being connected to people of purpose. There's just no greater wealth than that.
Yeah, I think we all really appreciate you being here with us today.
I'm humbled by that. Thank you.
Thank you. What are you currently doing to enhance your spirituality?
Oh, listen, I mean, that is really the core of, I believe, all existence, but definitely from my existence, understanding that I am such a man of faith. I am such a God focused, and not necessarily by, the confines or the constructs of religion, but, a true faith connection, in a relationship with God, and allowing him, understanding that he is my source. He is, the core of everything that revolves around me and everything that I revolve around, because he has designed this path and course for me. So just staying connected there and allowing the Spirit to lead and guide me, to tell me where to go, who to connect with, who to be with. When you can take the back seat and allow yourself to operate from the place of spirit, there, I just believe that you can't go wrong, and even what looks like a setback, you'll always understand that it's a setup. And I teach this, that you have to step up and cause an upset. And so I just believe that it is operating from spirit that allows you to do that, because as we've said, that's been a theme on this show about the universe speaking to you. How does the universe speak to you? It speaks to you through your spirit. And so practicing that, and doing, exercise, meditating, many people would say praying, but, also, I meditate, something that I practiced this weekend that I've never done. Before the boot camp was, Dr. Sutton took us through Tai Chi, and it was such a powerful experience, just practicing being centered. I've always done that, honestly, for years, but I've done it through my own understanding of what it means to be centered and how to center myself, but actually doing the exercise and centering ourselves. And one thing that was so powerful, there was an attendee that actually came late to our session on Sunday. She came about 20 minutes after we had finished doing Chi. And she walked in the room, and she said, she pulled me over to the side, and she said, there's a whole different energy in here. She said, what happened there? I mean, she said, from yesterday to today, she said, it's like the energy has been magnified. And I said, oh, we just finished doing Chi. And it was so interesting, for her to not even have been here, but walk in and be able to feel the difference in what we did. And so I believe that spirituality is very, very powerful, because that is who you are at your core. That is who you are at your center. And so I believe that the only time you can actually be centered, the only way to live centered, is to operate from spirit.
Successors, I hope you caught that. Elliot is bringing the power. He said, what you think may be an upset is actually a setup. Let that sink in for just a moment. Elliot, are there any modern technologies or apps that help you achieve success?
Honestly, if I was to say, Instagram and Twitter. Twitter has always been very, very big for me. Just using it to be able to network, to connect with people, outside your reach, and especially for those people who are in interesting areas. And I'm saying as far as location, because many people are discouraged about where they live and they feel like, oh, I don't have access to this. I don't have access to this. Let me tell you, the internet and social media is your friend. You just have to define what is the purpose of your profile. I am able, again, defining, that wealth for me, the relationships and people build. I'm able to build so many relationships through social media and using these platforms and using these applications, but using them for purpose. And so one of the sections in my book is called "What is the Purpose of Your Profile?" And I actually deal with, how to use technology. We have all of these profiles, all of these platforms that we can use to extend, our purpose reach and actually extend them to build more success for ourselves. But are you using them properly? And so I'm telling you, that is something that if you are a person who has not done that, and you look at your profile and ask yourself, well, is this conducive to my identity? Is what I'm putting out, is my messaging, does it speak to who I am? And what are people getting from what I am saying? And what are people getting from what I am posting? And how is that relating? How is it producing for me? I promise you, when you start to look at those things, it will give you a whole different idea of how you probably even online and even through technology, because technology should be used as an avenue to which you channel your purpose through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. What new thing, book, activity, technology, or skill are you really excited to learn and dive into?
I really honestly would like to venture into more Instagram. I mean, not Instagram video stories. I would really like to venture into YouTube or even Vimeo more, but I haven't really gotten to the place where I'm okay accepting the challenge of YouTube, but I really would like to do more video. I've gotten where I'm okay with radio and all of that, and even, like I said, Facebook, but YouTube seems to be a different platform for me that I just haven't said, okay, I'm ready to do it. But that's something that I believe between now and next year I'm going to take on. I'm excited to get into the YouTube world, and I see it working for so many people. And I do believe that I have something that I have to say, and I believe that I have something that I could bring that's unique, of course, because it is me to the platform. But I'm just still in strategy mode on exactly how to do it.
As far as helping our listeners achieve success in whatever it is that they're doing, what piece of advice can you give them?
Ask the question. There is such a power in asking. Whatever you don't know, ask the question. Find someone who's doing it. And again, you may not have access to that person, physically or, in person. They may not be down the street or, in your city, but write them, tweet them, message them on Instagram, message them on Facebook. I just believe that so many people are living without because you have not asked. Again, as the Bible tells us, we have not because we ask not. And I want to challenge people to take on the power of the ask. All people can do is say no. I mean, what can people do to you but say no? And then I also understand that no only means no the first time. So I just believe that there's such a power in asking. So I would challenge people, ask the right question.
That's interesting you said that, because just yesterday I was talking to my daughter. She came and visited me, and that was one of the things I told her. I said, if there's anything you want to know, or if there are any struggles you're having, never, ever, ever be afraid to ask, because what you want, you may actually receive it.
Yes. I'm telling you, and I'm saying that because that's something that I myself, even though I say that, I'm challenged with that in moments, and I'm still, practicing that. And I'll say last month, I did a black and white brunch at the beginning of last month. And, honestly, it started out easy to plan. Then in the middle, it got very, very difficult, and working with who we were working with. And 3 days before the event, I almost was going to cancel it. I was going to cancel it. I made the decision to cancel it. And then I thought about another connection that I had made, and I said, well, maybe I'll just call. Maybe they I don't know what they could do, and I know it's very last minute. It's 3 days before, but again, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna ask, and I wrestled with myself. It took me a few hours to pick up the phone and just ask. And Antonio, when I placed that phone call and asked, after the guy finished putting together and doing what he was doing, it was way better than the offer that I was working with from the beginning. And then he said to me, "Why didn't you ask me sooner?" And I said, "I don't know. It just didn't come to me, And I said, and even when it did come to me, I really wrestled. And so that I'm telling you, what I was able to do that, and it was so easy. But that brunch was amazing. The people loved it. I mean, they're already asking me when am I going to do another one. And the thing is, I had said after I did that one, I said, because of how much it took to do this one, I don't know if I'll do another one, but it doesn't have to be hard. And I think one of the things that one of the reasons why we think things are so hard is because we just won't ask the question. And so you, again, you'll never know, and you live in the place of the unknown, and nobody wants to live in that place.
Yeah, that's funny. That's interesting because it reminds me of the book by Jack Canfield and Mark Victor Hansen. The book, it's called Ask or something like that. But that is the concept that they taught. And Jack talked about when he was getting into speaking, and just like you said, as far as a price to charge people for you to come speak, and he shot himself way too low. Yeah. And once he shot himself high, he was surprised that he actually got what he, spoke, Wow. I love that.
Right. Wow. Wow. That's amazing. That's really amazing. And I'm saying that because that's something that we really, really, really do deal with. And again, even though I'm the voice on here sharing this today, I promise, to those who are listening, I'm still having to practice it myself. I'm still having to remind myself, even in the moments, because we'll always answer our own question. And the other thing with asking that my friend Dr. Sutton taught was, when you ask the question, don't you provide the answer.
Oh, yeah.
If we truly believe that the universe is responding to us, the universe is working for us, sometimes you just need to put the question out so that you can run into the answer.
Yes. That is so powerful.
Yes.
Successors, Elliot has a special exclusive offer for our listeners, which is you. Elliot, what is that?
Yes, I would like to offer, speaking of the on-demand coaching services that I'm offering, I would like to offer a complimentary coaching session to the listeners if they would use 4 POS free. So if they would go to my website at www.elliottcarlyle.net and send me a message in the contact form and let me know that you have the free code, please put the code 4 POS free, and I will respond to you, or one of my team will respond to you, and we'll set up your coaching session with me. And they can be done, of course, on the phone, or if anyone's in the Charleston, South Carolina area who's listening and you'd like a coaching session, I can set up one with you in person at my office, or they may be done via video on Skype. And so I am offering that today as a thank you for you listening to this podcast, and I do appreciate you investing your time, because time is the only thing that you cannot get back.
All right, successors, you heard that. 50% off of one on-demand coaching session with Elliot. Just go ahead and visit the site, elliottcarlyle.net, and use that coupon code 4POS free, and you'll get that big discount. Elliot, how can our listeners connect with you?
Oh, you can go to my website at www.elliottcarlyle.net. I am also on Instagram and Facebook at www.instagram.com/ElliotCarlyle. I'm on Facebook at www.facebook.com/IamElliotCarlyle, or you can just search Elliot Carlyle for my public page. And then you can also visit me on Twitter at www.twitter.com/Elliot Carlyle.
Finally, Elliot, what's your definition of success?
My definition of success is operating from purpose and passion and being able to serve others from that place and have enough left over to live on for yourself.
Successors, I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Elliot Carlyle. Please check out more successful free content just like this at the4pos.com, as well as rate, review, and do not forget to subscribe to the show. Thanks for listening and prepare for success. Thanks, Elliot.
Thank you, Antonio.
If you want to do more, earn more, be more, and stay more motivated, visit Amazon.com right now for a copy of Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success. Get it now at Amazon.com.